We will now start method of multiplier and the sensitivity analysis. So these two topics we will be covered in this particular lecture. As we have understood, a constraint optimization formulation can be written as minimization of function, which is subjected to inequality constraint, equality constraints, and we have variable bounds. So as of now, we have gone through penalty function method in which the penalty function P of XR is written in terms of the objective function value f of x plus the penalty term, which is represented by omega. In this penalty function method, this omega term is chosen based on the interior and exterior penalty function terms. Now let us begin with the method of multiplier. The significance of method of multiplier is we want to overcome the limitation of the distorted penalized function. So from the previous lecture, what we understood that when we are adding the penalty into the objective function, so there is a distortion in the contours of the penalized function. And as and when the value of R is more, the distortion will be more, and that can result into the artificial optimas. Therefore, in order to overcome this distortion, which is creating problem for us, we have this method of multiplier where the penalty function is written in terms of x, sigma t, and tau t. So these two new terms are introduced here. If we look on the right hand side of the equation number 3, we have objective function plus r times. So throughout all the constraints, we have a common r value, and inside this curly brackets, we can see we have the inequality constraint plus the term sigma j, then a bracket operator, and whatever be the outcome, we are making a square minus sigma j t square. Plus, similarly, in the equality constraint, we have r outside the sigma, and h k of x plus tau x, we are making a square minus tau k t square. Now in this, r will remain the same throughout the simulation. So similar to the previous discussion where we were keeping or we are changing the value of r in every sequence, but in method of multiplier, we keep the value of r same. Now the question is, what is sigma t and tau t? So this significance we will learn in the later slides, but these sigma t and tau t will help us to find out the multiplier that is called Lagrangian multiplier. So the point is, if we are starting with some value, how we are going to update this sigma and tau? As we can see in equation number 4, sigma t plus 1 is equals to, inside this bracket operator, we have gj at the new point. So xt plus 1 means the new point which we get it. So gj at a new point plus sigma jt. So this is the previous value. Similarly, for a tau t plus 1, we find the equality constraint at the new point plus tau kt means the previous value. The modified penalty function. So as we have discussed, the modified penalty function does not distort the original objective function, but shifts it towards the constraint optimum. So we have an example where we will understand the same point. The important point is that the complexity remains the same as solving the original objective function. How we can find the Lagrangian multiplier? So if we remember that the Lagrangian multiplier we have come across in LPP, where there is a multiplier for every constraint. Similarly, when we understand the method of multiplier, converting the constraint problem into one constraint, we use Lagrangian multiplier. Now, since in this particular formulation, we are using sigma and tau. So as you can see in equation number 5, we can find the Lagrangian multiplier uj is equals to minus 2 times of R sigma j capital T. Now what is capital T? Capital T is the optimum point which we get it in the final iteration. Moreover, when we were understanding the KKT conditions, there also we understand the Lagrangian multiplier. Generally, we take initial value of a sigma j and tau k 0. Now the important point here is by differentiating the penalty function for method of a multiplier, it has been shown that the final solution, which is xt, is a KKT point. And we remember that if a point is a KKT point, it's a likely candidate for the optimum solution. So the algorithm for method of multiplier works in a way that in step 1, we have two epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. We start with some initial guess. There is a penalty parameter R, which is constant, and sigma j tau k, all of them are 0. And we set the iteration number or a counter equals to 0. Then the penalized function, which we have understood from method of a multiplier, we make it. And in order to solve it in step 3, we use unconstrained optimization technique to solve penalized function from the starting point, say xt, with a convergence factor of sigma 1. So meaning that the unconstrained optimization technique, say for example, steepest descent method, we terminate a steepest descent method using epsilon 1. During the optimization, sigma j and tau k are kept fixed. So basically they are considered as a constant. Only this variable x is varied. By doing so, suppose we get a new point, say xt plus 1. So here, when we talk about the unconstrained optimization, this is similar to what we have understood in the penalty function methods. And before that, we have those methods for solving the unconstrained problem. Now in step 4, we generally check the termination condition. As you can see that we are having a penalty function method at xt plus 1 sigma t tau t minus. So here this should be xt, not xx. So xt comma sigma t minus 1 tau t minus 1. And if the difference is smaller than epsilon 2, then we should terminate. So in that case, the final point is xt capital T. Else, otherwise, if it is not terminated, we go to step number 5. Step number 5 means we are going to update sigma j and tau k for all the constraints. And then we set t equals to t plus 1 and go to the step number 2. In this case, step number 2, again, we are going to make a penalized function. Now let us take an example to understand the method of multiplier. This is the same Hamel-Blau function. This particular function is subjected to one constraint as given here. And x1 and x2 are greater than equals to 0. So initially, let us choose r equals to 0.1. Initial point is 0, 0. Currently, this point is infeasible for us. We are setting sigma 1, 0 is 0 because we have just one constraint. Both the epsilon 10 to the power minus 5 and t equals to 0. Here it is important to note that generally the variable bounds are also considered as a constraint, but for simplification, we are not considering here. The penalty function method we can write. So since sigma 1, 0 is 0, so we are writing this penalty function method, which is very similar to the bracket operator, which we have understood earlier. Now, since this penalty function method is here, we know how we can solve it because this exercise we did it earlier. So using this steepest descent method, we get, say, the new point x1. Now, after that, step 4 is we have to check the termination condition. Since it is the first point, we don't have a previous point, previous penalized function value to compare with. So we are directly moving to the step number 5. Now step number 5, we update the value of a sigma 1. Now sigma 1 1 means in the after one iteration, the sigma is updated as G1. Now you can see we are finding the constraint at the new point x1 plus sigma 1 0. So that comes out to be minus 14.248. Then we set t equals to 1 and move to step number 2. The first sequence is over now. Once it is done, we have to move to step number 2. Now you can see the change in the penalty function. Now penalty function is P of sigma 1 1. Now we have the objective function plus a constant R 0.1, and inside this big bracket you can see we have G1 minus sigma 1 1 bracket operator and whole square minus sigma 1 whole square. So you can see the change in the penalty function method here. So using that penalty function, again, if we use the steepest descent method, starting from x1, we get a new point, say x2, which is 1.948 and 2.846. So here, since we have the previous point, so we are calculating the objective function at the new point, the G1 constraint at the new point, then the penalty function value x2 sigma 1 is 60.129 and penalty at x1 sigma 10 is 55.664. Now these two values are quite different because epsilon 2 is 10 to the power minus 5. So we move to step number 5. Now, as we remember, step 5 is we are going to update sigma value. Now sigma 1 2, now it is iteration number 2. Sigma 1 2 is G1 at the new point, which is x2 now, plus the previous sigma 1 1. We include it having the bracket operator. We get minus 22.834. We set t equals to 2 and move to step number 2. So that is the sequence over. So if we continue in that way, we will be moving towards the optimum solution. So let us see all these sequences in a tabular form. So we remember that in the sequence number 1, we have R fixed. We started with a 0 0 value. The penalty function value using method of multiplier giving me 170.10 and constraint violation was minus 1. When we keep on improving using steepest descent, we get a new point at the end and the penalty function method is reduced. However, the constraint violation is increased. So the same justification we did it in the penalty function method in the lecture of penalty function method. It's the same. That will remain the same here. Now in a sequence number 2, R will remain the same. We are starting from the previous best point, which is 2.628 and 2.475. Now including this, now you can see the penalty function value 66 as compared to 25. And you know why? Because the sigma and tau values are changed. However, the constraint violation will remain the same. By using the steepest descent method and the termination condition, we get the point 1.948, 2.846, giving me 60.129 as the penalized function value, and the constraint violation is reduced to minus 8.596. In sequence 3, R remains the same. We are using the previous best point. Look at the penalized function. It has increased. As we know, the sigma value is updated and that's why P value is changed here. However, constraint violation is the same. When we are updating at the last, we get a point, say 0.932, 3.074. The penalized function is 61 and look at the constraint violation. Now this constraint violation is almost very small, meaning that we are close to the optimum solution. So let us understand this particular method graphically because there are certain claims about the method of multiplier. Now we know that if there is no constraint for Hamel-Blau function, the optima is at 3 and a 2. But because of the current constraint, the optima has been changed to the minimum point, as you can see in the figure. Now, we started with the same value, constant value of R, but sigma value was 0. When we are minimizing it, we started with a 0 and a 0, we get the first point x1. Similarly, now we have to see the change in the contours. Now these contours are less distorted as compared to the penalty function method. In the sequence number 2, we started with the x1 point. Now can you see the contour here? Now these contours are moving as and when sigma value is updated. These contours are moving towards the optimum solution. So from the sequence number 2, we started from x1. Now we are moving to x2. And in the third sequence, again, you can see the contours are again shifting towards the minimum point. And in the third sequence, as we have understood from the table, we are very close to the minimum point. So the observation is the penalty function or function of method of multiplier is less distorted as compared to the one with the penalty function method. And that is the whole aim, because the distortion makes artificial minima that we can remove using the method of multiplier. Second is we can see a shift of the original penalized function towards the optimum point. And the third is the contour of penalty function do not change in the feasible space. So if you look the previous these two figures, the contours in the feasible space, whether it is second sequence or a third sequence, that remains the same. Only thing is that the contours in the infeasible area, they are moving in such a way that we will get the optimum solution. So these are the benefits of using method of multiplier, and that's why this method is quite famous to use to handle the constraint with our nonlinear problem. With this understanding of penalty function method and as well as method of multiplier, now let us move to the sensitivity analysis. Now, when we start with the sensitivity analysis, there are certain background to understand. So when the optimum solution is obtained using an optimization method, a common question arises that is the obtained solution really optimal? In order to answer this, we can use KKT necessity and sufficient theorems to check the optimality of the obtained solution. So here, when we are saying KKT condition, this means that we are performing sensitivity analysis for constraint optimization. However, we cannot apply these theorem for all cases. So as what you can see that when we are using the KKT condition, we cannot use for all kind of a problem, because certain problems are so complex, finding the gradient of the function or the constraint is not easy to find it. Therefore, it is not easy to apply or to get the KKT conditions on the given problem. Interesting point is that when we are solving theoretical or a mathematical problem, we know where is the optima. So we can always check whether the solution obtained by the optimization method is really optimum or not. But for most of the real world problem, the optimum solution is not known to us. In this scenario, what we can do is we can change the problem parameters to check any change in the optimal values of the objective function. So this is the overall aim for the sensitivity analysis. Now this sensitivity analysis we have already done with the linear programming. So in LPP, a quick estimation of the solution can be achieved by using the Lagrangian multiplier corresponding to the constraint. So if we can find the Lagrangian multiplier in our case as well, then we can check whether the solution is optimum or not. The study of effect of the problem parameters on the optimal objective function value is known as the sensitivity analysis. So let us understand, as we have already gone through what is the difference between parameter and decision variable. Just to understand one more time in the context of the constraint optimization, suppose we want to minimize this quadratic function subjected to two constraints. So these constant ABCD are our problem parameters, which we keep them, which are constant throughout our simulation. Only X1 and X2, which are our design variable, that changes in our optimization algorithm. So if the problem parameters are changed, the optimum solution can be found by performing another simulation of an optimization. This is similar. This understanding we have developed while understanding the LPP or performing the sensitivity analysis for LPP. Now, as we understood that if we are going to change ABCD, then we have to perform, if we are using optimization algorithm, then it is going to be a computationally expensive because some problems actually need a lot of time or function evaluation to get an optimum solution. So in this case, there exists a relationship between the change of problem parameters that are the constants associated with the constraints and the corresponding optimal objective function values in terms of Lagrangian multipliers associated with them. And that is the whole objective. We have to do it. Now the question is, since the Lagrangian multiplier are important for us, how do we find those Lagrangian multiplier? If the KKT condition can be found, we can find the Lagrangian multiplier. So it is easy. Second is I can use method of multiplier. And finally, the optimum solution, we will get it at the last. I can find these Lagrangian multiplier Uj and a Vk in terms of R and sigma j and tau k. There is another way to obtain the Lagrangian multiplier by solving the optimization problem. So we want to minimize this function. So you remember that this is the first condition in the KKT condition. So if we are going to minimize, so basically the minimum value of this is 0. So this is nothing but the necessity condition. This is the necessary KKT necessity condition when we want that this particular function should be equals to 0. And this particular problem is subjected to all the constraints as we have understood from the KKT condition. Now here, important point is that X vector is a constant here because we are checking at a given point. But who are the variables? Variables are the Lagrangian multiplier, which are Uj and Vk. So this point we have to remember here. So now let us suppose that we have identified or calculated the Lagrangian multiplier that we have understood from the previous slide. So in order to perform the Lagrangian multiplier, so you remember that we have this Gj of x as a constraint and we write our formulation as Gj of x greater than equals to 0. Now we are writing this smaller Gj of x in terms of capital Gj of x minus alpha j. So alpha j is a constant. So if we substitute this smaller Gj of x by capital Gj of x, similarly small hk of x with a capital HK of x, the equation 8 can be written. We want to minimize the objective function subjected to capital Gj of x greater than equals to alpha j. So how we get it? So if we are substituting, we will take this alpha j on the right hand side. So we'll get this constant on the right hand side. Similarly for the equality constraints. So since now we have written these constraint in the constant term on the right hand side. So this we can correlate with our LPP. In our LPP also we have some constant on the right hand side which were represented as B1, B2, Bj. Now if from the LPP we know that if we are going to differentiate function f with respect to alpha j, I'm going to get Uj. When we are differentiating f with respect to beta k, we are going to get Vk. So this should be not Vj, it should be Vk. So here the change in the objective function we can write as delta of f star is summation of j equals to 1 to capital J, dou f by dou alpha j, and this is delta alpha j. Similarly for the equality constraints. Now what we are doing is we are replacing this differentiation of the function with respect to alpha j by the Lagrangian multiplier. So here you can see j equals to j equal to 1 to capital J, all summation uj, change in the delta alpha j. Similarly for the equality constraint, meaning that if I'm going to change on the right hand side, say alpha j or a beta j, if Lagrangian multiplier are known to us, I can directly find what is the change in the objective function value. Important to note that we always, this particular thing is valid when the change is smaller, means that delta alpha j is a small value. That is a small change in the alpha j. So this sensitivity analysis, we can see if I'm going to change the right hand side of the constraint given in equation number 8, how much is the objective function value changes without performing or uh, uh, without using any optimization algorithm to find the new optimum solution. So this will help us to understand the change in the objective function value.